And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Friday, February 28th, 2025. And as we head into the weekend, we have a couple of impulses of low pressure. There's one low that's going to pull up into the Gulf and weaken. Another one is going to come out of the North Pacific and then cut across the Alaska Peninsula into the southwest interior, bringing with it certainly lower ceilings, some visibilities in some rain and snow, some rain along coastal areas, but you'll get the snow as you get up into the southwest interior. We start off Saturday morning with IFR conditions throughout the Panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast through Yakutat Bay. We find some pockets of IFR within the Alaska range, especially down along the west arm with that east-southeasterly upslope flow. Same thing along the west side of the Gulf, along the eastern Kenai, Prince William Sound, Kodiak Island, up over Lake Iliamna and into the southwest interior. For Saturday afternoon, still some IFR conditions, inner coastal mountains of the Panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast, areas around Prince William Sound toward Valdez, and then again with that upward slope flow here on this west arm of the Alaska range, including places like Rainy and Merrill Passes. We also have IFR conditions lingering across the Bering Strait, portions of the Seward Peninsula, and coming up the middle Yukon Valley, and then also down here along and south of the Alaska Peninsula as the next low pressure system begins to head northward out of the North Pacific. And then for Sunday, with that influx of moisture Sunday morning, pretty much IFR conditions continue across the Panhandle, areas along the eastern Kenai, Prince William Sound. Again, the south and eastward facing slopes of the Alaska range, western Susitna Valley. Broad area of the central interior from southwest interior up along the Yukon River, mid-upper Yukon Valley, and the south side of the Brooks Range. And for Sunday afternoon, we still find areas of IFR conditions, again, as another low comes up out of the south, out of the North Pacific. Mainly the western Gulf, again, areas of the Alaska Range, southwest interior, Wood-Tikchik State Park, the hills, small mountains there, and then also up along Norton, Kotzebue Sounds, portions of the Seward Peninsula. So past conditions Saturday are looking generally MVFR there through the east central Brooks Range at Anatuvik and Adigan passes. As we get down here along the west arm of the Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, IFR, again, because that east-southeast flow, upslope flow creating lower ceilings and some precipitation that will also lower visibility. Rainy Pass, IFR. Windy Pass will have those IFR conditions off to the west and southwest, but may become IFR there by the time we get toward later morning or afternoon. Isabel Pass starting off with IFR conditions, maybe lifting enough to MVFR. Mentasta Pass is far enough east, generally VFR conditions, though as you get a little north of the north entrance, you may encounter some MVFR conditions. Tanita Pass is kind of a split. MVFR there to start the day, giving way to VFR conditions. Further south, though, it's going to stay IFR around Portage Pass and out into Prince William Sound, whereas the west entrance, we're looking at MVFR conditions Saturday, and then Chilkoot and White will remain IFR up there in the northern portions of the Panhandle, as will much of the northeastern Gulf Coast and Panhandle on Saturday. Freezing levels Saturday morning generally run across the central Aleutians, lower Bering, along the Alaska Peninsula, coming up into lower Cook Inlet, along the east side of the Kenai, and then all along the Gulf Coast into the inner channels of the Panhandle. Freezing levels aloft are not all that impressively high, at or just above 2,000 feet. Southwest interior, just west of the Alaska Range, as you get up through the upper portion of the Kuskokwim Valley. And then we find generally over the Gulf, freezing levels at or above 2,000 feet. Now, with this influx of moisture that's going to pull its way across the southwest interior, we expect that there could be some moderate icing above 4,000 feet from areas of the Chukchi Sea, Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula, all the way across the Yukon and Kuskokwim areas, especially the lower valleys, and then across Lake Iliamna to lower Cook Inlet. We also have some areas potentially of moderate icing over the Panhandle above 5,000 feet. And the upper level jet stream pattern, we have a sharp trough here over the eastern Gulf with 115 knot jet core on the east side coming up into British Columbia, central Canada. And then this kind of bit of a ridgy pattern, southwest flow over Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula on the order of 70 knots or so. And as we bring it down to 9,000 feet or 700 millibars, there is a belt of stronger winds, 40 to as high as 50, 55 knots. Alaska Peninsula, and especially south of there into the North Pacific. We also find some winds out over the southwest interior from the southwest there of 35 knots. And as we go down further close to the surface, 3,000 feet aloft, we find a core of stronger winds, 45 to 60 knots, just south of the Alaska Peninsula, associated with the next low center that'll be lifting northward. So on Saturday, the greatest threat for turbulence will be around Kodiak Island and the Pacific side through the gaps here of the central northern Alaska range, surface to 5,000 feet. As we get across Lake Iliamna into the southwest interior, across the middle upper Kuskokwim area, and then middle Yukon, we could find some areas of moderate turbulence, surface to 4,000 feet, and then back out toward the eastern Aleutians. There may be some areas of moderate turbulence from around Nikolsky, surface to 4,000 feet then during the day on Saturday.